In the book, you played around with this idea of contrasting play of words and concepts and notions. Like every chapter was from ignorance to wisdom, violence to kindness, resentment to forgiveness, weakness to strength. I think that's also part of the beauty of this physical dimension, is that we get to learn everything through differing degrees of contrast. And, when we learn about anger, we learn about compassion. When we learn about desire, we learn about stillness. So let's go a little bit deeper into that notion of the duality that we face, because a lot of people say like, oh, I don't want to be in duality, I want to be in oneness. But at the same time, it's the duality that's helping us evolve and learn and grow in our consciousness.
Yeah. I mean, we are where we are in this multiverse. We are exploring the minutia of this environment. And in order to explore that minutia, this is where we get the experience of duality: good, bad, right, wrong, violence to kindness, as you said, greed to generosity. And so these teachings allow us to understand how to go from one end to the other and pass right through. And that's why these are the same teachings I share with the other ascended masters. These are the exact same teachings. If you're enjoying the video and you want to go deeper with me, check out my meditation masterclass. It's unlike anything. It's pinned in the comments below. To be able to move from greed to generosity will allow us to move through this experience, this so-called physical experience with grace. It'll allow us to move through this without having to repeat things over and over again. Because I can tell you that the original idea of all of this, Emilio, was not to do this over and over again. That was not the idea. It was not to have 10,000 lifetimes, 20,000 lifetimes. That was never the idea. And it's because we weren't, from my perspective and God's perspective, we weren't working with ourselves properly and optimally. We were getting addicted. We were getting engrossed. We were getting attached. We were getting identified with the experience itself, because the low frequencies are so intoxicating. For the higher self that projects as a piece of itself, you or me, the low frequencies, it has no idea of what touch or any of these things are like, any sense of physicality. So it's intoxicating, addicting for the higher self that's projecting a soul or an aspect. And so these teachings will allow us to see the low frequency way of operating and the high frequency way of operating while still here in the low frequencies, which will allow us to move through this entire process and work properly and optimally with ourselves. But it's only by seeing, as you said, the duality of these things, but to then also, just to make it even more bizarre, to realize that there really is no such thing as duality, that it's still just one thing. It's still all just one thing. But our attention is over here, and then our attention is over here, and then it seems like two different things, but it's really one thing. But these teachings allow us to operate in a way that we can move through this experience with the greatest efficacy of consciousness, as well as the most joy and love in our heart, without getting caught here, without getting encumbered in karma, without creating so much cause and effect that we're going to have to then turn around and have this experience again, because everything that we're giving birth to is of low frequency. And so we have to be on the receiving end of that. For us to fully understand ourselves as a limitless creator, we have to be the recipient of what it is that we created as well. And that's really what cause and effect is. And really, part of the idea behind this book is for us to become a being of pure cause, sans any effect. And when we do that, we must operate out of unconditional love and timeless wisdom. And that's what these teachings are. They're born out of unconditional love and timeless wisdom. And that will remove us from the attachments and the identifications and the suffering that we have gotten used to in terms of how to evolve. We're at a point where we don't have to suffer to evolve. This is the point of going from greed to generosity, from violence to kindness, from disorder to order, for us to realize that we can evolve ourselves not through the suffering, but through the liberation of consciousness.
I would love to go a little bit deeper into that notion of the law of cause and effect, where you mentioned that someone who embodies their self-mastery only becomes the cause. What would that look like, in real terms of when we're putting out a cause but not receiving an effect in return?
When you are operating in the driver's seat of the miracle machine, at the core of existence is unconditional love. Everything is born of that that the wellspring of being and non-being is actually the vibration of unconditional love. And love is unconditional. So it's not a business transaction. You're not looking to get something in return. Now, when you operate from that state, now what surrounds, I'm trying to think of an image, but I'm not getting one. So if we think of an atom and everything that's circulating around I guess that's the image I'm getting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So the very core is unconditional love. Now, what just circles it as close as you can get to that source point is timeless wisdom. The summation of all timeless wisdom is unconditional love. So if we operate from that, timeless wisdom and unconditional love, we're not looking to receive anything. You become a pure being of cause because you're operating at the highest level. And a master can't get karma. A master operates beyond the law of cause and effect. They can't sully themselves or dirty themselves. And this is what I want for everyone. I want everyone to be able to operate in this way.
So it almost seems counterproductive for us to develop first our wisdom before our unconditional love.
Okay. Now, when we say that, I have a feeling most people are going to interpret wisdom as intellectual knowledge or information. That, my friend, is bullshit. That's not
it's the ego
right.
mind.
That's not, listen, the ego mind identity is artificial intelligence. Let's get this straight. It's already happened. We're all AI. Your ego mind identity is artificial intelligence. It's already occurred. Okay. So now when we talk about wisdom, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about gnosis or knowledge of self, which is universal and not contextual. It always applies. Intellectualism or information is contextual and it has to do with circumstances and events. That's not what I'm talking about. Now, the only way to really develop timeless wisdom is to be able to sit in such pristine silence and patience that the knowingness just starts to waft up and it informs your mind rather than your mind reaching out for things because it's disconnected from the source point. And this is why the ego mind is so ravenous for information. It's why people are on YouTube watching this channel or this, trying to get information about what's going to happen over and over again. That is 100% ego mind because it's disconnected from the source point of knowingness. So the source point of knowingness is how the wisdom develops. And so in order for us to actually experience this, we have to be, the analogy I use is the unshaken snow globe, right? Snow globe, you shake it, right? And then this happens. Well, you can't see anything. There's no clarity at all. So it's through this stillness. It's within the soil of patience that wisdom grows, the stillness, the silence. And that will inform the mind. We're doing it backwards. We're having the lower conscious leading and grasping for information because it's completely and utterly bankrupt and because it's disconnected from the source point. It's disconnected from what actually even gave birth to it. And so developing that kind of wisdom, I wouldn't say we necessarily have to put that ahead or before unconditional love, but I will say timeless wisdom is infused and imbued from unconditional love.
Is that source point of knowingness reside within our body? Would that be the heart?
Okay. No. So the heart is the meeting point of physical. Okay. How do I say that properly? Okay. When we are incarnate in where we are now, right? Okay. The sentience, the I am, what we really are, resides between the heart and the spine. Okay. So the fourth chakra or the heart chakra is the meeting point, we could say, between being a spiritual being and having a physical experience. So right in that center point is right here. It's not the heart itself. The heart is representative. The heart is representative. It's not the actual physical heart, if that makes sense, right? Matter does not have dominion over spirit. Everything comes from spirit. But that's why the sentience sits right in the middle, because this is, or the I am, or the self with the capital S. This is so by meeting in the middle, we merge physicality with spirit, and that is truly what an awakened person is. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you are desirous of more of the real you, and less of your conditioned, agitated mind, if you know that you can create a life that you're not leading right now, but you know you can, check out my meditation masterclass. It's pinned in the comments below.